30-second delay. And we will get rocking and rolling.
All right.
A few minor technical issues, but nothing we can't get over, hopefully. Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Say hello in the chat. Let us know you can hear us okay. We will be kicking off in a minute or two. We just got one guest who will hopefully be joining us in a moment, and then we will kick off. Jason, you're fresh off the plane from San Francisco. How was it?
It was lovely. I got to meet a lot of really smart people in the AI space and learn a bunch of cool new tips and stuff like that. And excited to trickle them out for the remainder of the year and share with everybody. But I also feel like recruiting's in a really cool space right now. So I feel really good about the stuff we got to see.
Yeah, me too. Thomas, you made it. Welcome, welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Great to have you here. So we're recording this on Riverside. There is a slight Riverside issue right now with the audio, so just for the other guests, just pop yourself on mute when you're not speaking because there's a weird static which builds up. It's a Riverside issue, I'm told, and it will make everyone a bit happier listening to us, I'm sure. So let's kick off. Thanks for joining, everyone. This is PromptMates Live number 4, the most difficult one so far because we've got the most amount of guests and we had some technical issues before we started, but we've got here now. If this is your first time joining us, this is our bi-weekly live show where we're delivering AI and automation training and enablement to the community completely for free. We also have a private community for mainly talent leaders who want to implement AI. I'll drop a link in the chat in a moment if you're interested in learning more about that. But let's dive into the session. So this week we're supported by DreamTeam and we have Shirley joining us who I'll hand over to in a moment. But just to very quickly run through the agenda. So firstly, Shirley's going to give us an exclusive demo of the DreamTeam people management software. It's a software built from the ground up with AI, so some pretty cool features that I think you'll be interested to see. Then we're going to hand over to Thomas, who's VP People and Talent at Juro. He's built some custom GPTs that he's rolled out across Juro for the managers going through performance cycles. So we'll see how they work and get insight into how he built them. Then we've got Glenn. Glenn has a super interesting profile because he's not only been a kind of acting head of talent for various different organizations, but he's also now an AI trainer as well. So a really cool blend of those two worlds. And he's going to be telling us about all things prompting. And we've got a live activity, I think, where we can get feedback on our prompts and we'll do a bit of a group discussion on how you prompt using different tools. So yeah, excited to get to that. So without further ado, Shirley, I'm going to hand over to you and let's learn about a brand new tool.
Can you hear me? All right, perfect. So hey everyone, great to be here and thanks for having me. I'm Shirley Bauer. I'm co-founder of DreamTeam and CPO, so Chief Product Officer, not people. DreamTeam is an all-in-one people management platform, so everything people hire to retire, onboarding, performance, time management, you all know it. But our take is kind of different. We call ourselves AI native people operating the system, and that means 2 unique things. One, a super adaptable modular platform. We believe that software should adapt to you and not the other way around. And that was always relevant, but nowadays that we feel the world is changing twice before lunch, more than ever. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect is, like you said, that Joe, everything AI from the ground up, so saving you time on mundane tasks and giving you insights. And that's in a nutshell. And let's dive in. Let me just share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen? Everything works fine?
Yeah, looks good.
All right, perfect. So that's DreamTeam. Let's start with the fundamentals. So here are all of the people in my organization. I can see this information in lots of different ways. So org chart, calendar to see vacation, dashboard to see some insights. That's the basics. What's nice about DreamTeam is that you can manage all sorts of data about the employee and all sorts of people processes. So that's how you build your people information and processes. Our customers manages. Oh, sorry. This is a little bit annoying. Our customer manages all sorts of processes. You can have compensation or documentation management, personal information, of course, but also things like one-on-ones or even IT equipment, goals, and so on and so on. And let's see together how easy it is to build something new. So you can completely control the structure of your data and how the employee works. Now I'll create a new tab. I can create as many as I want. And let's assume I want to manage, I don't know, kids. My kid just got in here, so I got inspiration. And I want to add, I don't know, their names. And maybe maybe their birth date or whatever. So I can do it manually. I can choose from lots of different types and organize it the way I want. But I can also do it with AI. Let's assume I can build whatever I want. So one, it takes me, it saves me a lot of time, and two, I can get some inspiration. Let's assume I have a new office in Berlin and I want to add bank details. So this is just a shortcut. So I want to create a payment detail for the Berlin site. Now we will go over best practices. And instead of, asking questions, going to groups, asking your friends, we can already generate it here. So it works perfectly with our platform. So now I have, now it's created and I can fine-tune everything to my needs. And that's the fundamental. Now let's go talk about processes. Okay, and this is the data. But let's assume I now want to onboard people for my new office in Berlin. So for that we have workflows. In workflows you can manage all relevant people processes, so you could choose from existing one. But let's say I want to create a new one. I can do it manually. And again, I want to do it maybe with a prompt. So I want to create a pre-onboarding flow for my sales team in Berlin. Create 2 tasks with a form. First name, last name, email. So again, the same drill. Instead of doing it manually, that DreamTeam can do it for me.
I think what's surprising me, Shirley, is you're literally taking week-long workday meetings and you're doing these things in like a matter of seconds right now.
Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I created a form. It's already pre-built, but the nice thing about it is that I can change everything. Okay, so it's built in seconds, and like you said, it's saving me a lot of time. But maybe I also want to add gender, and I can change everything and fine-tune everything for my needs. Okay, now it runs automatically. It will send it to all the new people in my company, and I can connect it to the employee start date. This is just an example. In DreamTeam, you can connect it to any type of date. Okay, so not only the rigid stuff, start date, end date, I don't know, but you can choose whatever. And maybe you want to have a workflow for, I don't know, your kid's birthday or something like that. And then all I have to do is to assign it to the relevant group. So in this example, I want to assign this workflow only to the Berlin site. So I'll choose office is Germany. All right, and I want to assign it to them, and it automatically runs when they'll join. So that's workflows. And the next part is analytics. The beauty of DreamTeam that it connects the dots. It can show, you can do analytics on pretty much everything, and you can connect onboarding, performance, compensation data in one place. So again, you can choose from multiple dashboards, I don't know, IT or payroll or time management or high-level stuff. But I want to show you how easy it is to create a new one. So let's assume, again, let's do the basics. How many people in my organization in the last 6 months? They have 55 people. Maybe I want to see growth over time, so I can do that. Maybe I want to see it. Maybe I want to break it down by office, or see it as a pie. I want to break it down by office and gender. Okay, so pretty much that's just one example, but you can take all sorts of data and break it down, filter it by anything you want, and create really, really customized and cool insights. So that's everything around insights. And I want to show you also how you can leverage AI insights. So this is insights about hardcore numbers, but sometimes you want insights about more soft, unmeasurable things. So let's go to our performance reviews. I won't do the same drill, but you can create one, of course, with AI. And let's take a typical one. So I can always see, for example, on a specific person, what was their feedback, what was their manager feedback maybe, and I can see a shortcut about employee performance and some highlights, maybe manager and employee alignment, maybe they have some sort of misalignments and strengths and areas for improvement and even action items. But we wanted to take it one step further. Okay, so you can also see highlights about all the organization or all the cycles. You can always see data about the questions or completion date and see exactly who's done what. But you can also generate insight about the form themselves. So maybe I ran the performance cycle only on the R&D team, or maybe all the Berlin site, or everyone in my organization. So now I can see overall what were the trends and themes, what were the strengths, what were the risks. I can do some more deep diving, maybe on a specific employees that I need to pay attention to, or action items based on what we discussed. How am I in terms of time?
Awesome, Shirley. You're doing a great job. I know you're trying to demo a massive piece of
Yeah, I'm
software
trying to do it.
in like 10 minutes here, which is impressive. Yeah, we're about there for time. I think what I'll say is, like, it's incredibly impressive what you can see here. Like, you've got almost the flexibility of these vibe coding tools where you can build any kind of mini solution you want, but kind of the challenge of those tools is, where does the data go? And you need to then connect it to a back end. Whereas actually this is all in one place, right? Because it is the people management platform you're building on top of. So yeah, incredibly cool what we can see here. Anyone else, anything to add on the demo?
Yeah, I want to add just one another layer. Just wanted to check on timing. So if I can take 2 more minutes.
Let's go.
All right, perfect. So we have the platform built, we have the relevant data, the relevant processes, the insights, everything in mind. Now I want to start work on it, right, regularly. So we also have AI agents that can help us to take some of the repetitive work. Anyone in the company, based on their permission, have an ability to ask questions, ask our agent questions. It's connected to all the relevant data about the employee and our knowledge base or policies, handbooks, and stuff like that. It can answer very simple questions like what is, I don't know, let's see, it's a demo account, so I don't know the names. Yeah, emergency contact, maybe. Okay, he didn't have one. So stuff like that. And I can also do more advanced stuff, like I can ask we have here a knowledge base where you can add everything, all relevant document, company values, benefits, policies, whatever. So I can ask how many vacation days can I get in my maternity leave? So instead of asking HR or people team questions that take tons of time, I can just ask the agent and it will scan all the relevant data and give me answers. Okay, nice, I have 12 weeks, so I am well rested. That's the basics. I can ask questions, but I can also generate reports. So maybe I want to, instead of, we also can do everything manually. I can add reports. I didn't show it, but I can add any report, build it with all the relevant field. I can also do it with AI. So maybe I want to list all employees in the New York, I don't know, office. Add their emails. I don't know if you have maybe or more ideas. Office, just to make sure, and break it down by gender. Show it here.
Awesome. This is going to be the very final thing, and then we're gonna roll on. But awesome to see the assistant working here.
Yeah. So you can, instead of generating the report, takes you a lot of time. You can do whatever you want. It did exactly what I wanted. So these are the females, the males. I can always export it to Excel, to PPT, whatever. I won't do it here, but you can see it here. I did it a second ago. And you can always also run processes. Okay, so you can ask questions, you can create reports and analytics, and you can also run processes. So let's assume I have, I don't know, company offsite, and I want to see how everyone is doing. So I can also do that. Create a satisfaction survey for our company offsite. Make it short.
Shirley, this is so cool, and I bet you could probably do this like all day. If people want to get a hold of you and they want to learn more about this, what's the best way to do it? Is it to go to the website? Is it to directly link with somebody on LinkedIn? Like, what do you suggest?
Going to our website will be the easiest way, but I'm always available on LinkedIn for our chat. So, yeah, software geek. So I would love to talk about it.
This is awesome.
Awesome, Shirley. We appreciate you coming on. We know you had a hard job to demo the solution in the time there, but awesome to awesome to see what you've shown us. The link to Dream Team is in the chat. We've got 150 people watching this demo right now, so if you want a really in-depth demo, go book one with them or check out the website. But thank you very much, Shirley. I think you maybe need to bounce to look after your child, who is very interested in the demo, also in the background. So thanks so much, and thanks for supporting the show. We appreciate it. Cool. We're gonna head on very quickly to Thomas. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Do you want to give us 30 seconds to who you are, what you do?
Sure. So my name is Thomas. I am the VP of People and Talent at a company called Juro. We're doing intelligent contracting. So lots of AI, blah, blah, blah. You don't care probably like as much as what I am going to demo, which is if you're a company that builds a product that really tries to like run on AI, so rather than saying like what could we automate, that thinks more about does this still need humans? I think you still want to have a company that operates in a kind of way that is aligned with that product, which means that human time is the most valuable resource that you have. So what is the kind of most kind of highest order time that the people that you're paying a lot of money to can spend on? So I've been kind of in this maelstrom for the last year and a half. Probably some of the people who are on this call have been as well. I've been with Juro for like 5.5 years, so joined when it was 15 people, like tiny SaaS company. I'm sort of like in the throes of it becoming an AI native company, whatever that means. I don't think any of us really know. But yeah, within that, basically, I'm responsible for everything, hiring, everything, kind of people and people experience, and now also AI strategy and general like workplace technology, which is what we call IT in the background.
What an intro! What an intro! I love that focus on how can we get our people to focus on like the highest value activities. I think that's such a great way to think about technology. And a big focus for you has been building custom GPTs, right? Tell me how you kind of landed on the use cases you did.
Yeah, so the way I kind of think about this is from, what does the technology that we have available to us today, what problems does that allow us to solve, rather than, what like stuff could I do with AI? I actually think a lot of the kind of not resistant, but a lot of the like, when people are saying like do more AI, which is a very reductive kind of way of having that conversation. But I think often the problem is not really a lack of skills, it's a lack of imagination, right? What could I do? Like what things am I doing now that I might never have to do ever again, right? Custom GPTs, even if you're like completely unfamiliar with this and like have never built a custom GPT or a gem or any of that sort of stuff in ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude before, it's a very, very easy way to just start playing around. And that kind of playfulness I try to bring into my team as well. I sometimes say to my boss, who's the CEO, that like this is less of a job than a hobby for me, which is probably a risky thing to say, but it does work in my context. So the specific problem that I want to demo is just one about time that I do not think humans should ever have to focus on ever again, and that is taking a lot of time writing performance reviews, because every one of us hates it, including me. I hate performance reviews. Every 6 months, like this process where you like just have to remember what you've done for the last 6 months, you just type things up. So we thought that there might be a better way of doing that.
All right, let's see it. I'm ready.
All right, let me go into that. So here, just to start out with a bit of a visual representation of what we used to have. We were no different than other companies in the sense that we had like a 6-monthly performance review where you essentially have to spend, you have to summarize kind of 6 months worth of performance, everything a person did. So looking back. But more than that, we've also had to kind of like package that and say, okay, so, what does it mean you should focus on in the next 6 months? So you have to basically like stretch yourself into like one conversation, almost a year's worth of conversation. And that is very hard to do because, as it probably is for many others as well, a single kind of like 45-minute conversation, even with all of the calibration stuff beforehand and all the stuff afterwards, like trying to check in on how that's going, it just doesn't work. So I've just kind of given up on the idea of like that this is, you know, this is the best thing we can possibly do. So what we wanted to do is split that apart. And we kind of said, okay, cool. So the looking forward for now, that can kind of stay a bit like longer term. But in terms of like looking back, we thought that, you know, a more kind of timely way of doing it would be to have much more continuous conversations about performance. Now, continuous performance feedback, that's not a new thing. That's been like flying around in the ether for years and years. But the people that I've spoken to over the years always said that any company that's tried to kind of, you know, sack like 6-monthly performance reviews in favor of more continuous performance feedback, they've always struggled to keep up momentum. I think that having AI tools actually helps us bridge that gap. And I'll show you how we've basically tried to do that after giving you one last piece of context, which is this weird word down here. So we're calling these internally oil checks because these kind of monthly feedback sessions, they are based on our personal version of how a kind of good feedback is delivered. So in our case, that is the observation, impact, listen, suggestion framework. There's like different frameworks. They exist like sand on the beach. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Just to give you a sense of when I start using the word oils everywhere in the next 5 minutes, this is where it comes from. So the basic idea of this is really that rather than doing this sort of weighty 6-monthly process, every month, and we're tinkering with like, do you do it every month, every 2 months, details. But every sort of month or two, every manager should have a very lightweight conversation with their team member that we say can be as short as 5 minutes. We don't care about it taking up a lot of time, where you give an employee feedback on sort of that time frame, the things that stuck out as being particularly good or not particularly good in that OILS format. So really it's about the consistency more than anything else. The cool thing is that having ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever, they allow you to build kind of custom bots that are trained specifically on these frameworks that you're using on your specific company context if you tell them what to do to help you create that. So for us, we built something called OilSmith, which helps managers prepare for these monthly oil checks. You can see here, you can kind of start a conversation in certain ways. I'm not going to bore you by like typing and waiting what the custom bot does. This one's actually public, so if you wanted to play around with it, you could do it yourself. I rather want to show you how this thing works in the backend, because some people might be intimidated by the idea of building a custom GPT or think like, I'm not technical, I won't know how to do this. I don't know how to write a single line of code. I also am not technical at all. But just to show you how this works and how really simply you get started, if you want to build a custom GPT or however another kind of AI tool brands this, you typically get into a screen that looks something like this, where on the right-hand side, you can kind of like preview and like test around. And on the left-hand side, you can either just through natural like chat interface, tell the thing what you want to build. In our case, we basically over time tinkered with instructions. So in our case, you can see here, it's a fairly like long prompt, but that was like through a lot of trial and error and over a couple of months, we always like added a couple of things in there. But the point is really, you're just kind of giving this thing one fairly long prompt about what it's supposed to do, right? So you can see here, the objective is to help managers do certain things, help turn their kind of unstructured thoughts into concise feedback that they can essentially just copy paste into their like Notion one-to-one doc. So not like fairly like massive, but I'll tell you in a second like what effect that has actually had on the conversations and the kind of quantifiable metrics that we've tried to do. I just want to show you one example of me having had a real conversation for one of my direct reports with her permission, so that's all good. So you can see here, put my thoughts on the structured feedback. It kind of asked me who is it for, what stood out most about it. anything that best illustrates it. I basically just do a brain dump here. I think in this one, I even partly just like voice commanded it in because I didn't want to type. I'm too lazy, and a lot of our managers probably are as well. It then kind of summarizes that and like over a couple of tries, it like got this really like well. So I basically then just tell it, where does that rank in our listing? So we kind of call or like exceeds, meets expectations, and like doesn't meet expectations in a different way, call it above and beyond. This is like reliably met. We sometimes call this also right on track, or like let's adjust or let's make a change. It then pops that into a table. And those tables, I can essentially really just copy paste and pop into Notion. Here's, for example, one different direct report who I have with a little bit of more Notion magic. There's on a recurring schedule, a kind of oil check session that comes in. And that session is just a pre-prepared one-to-one doc where I can just drop in whatever thing I want. So let's take this example here, where it's about a different kind of interview. So like interview, something, state, nice, observation, and you kind of keep doing this, you get the idea. And that turns what often would be like at least, 30, 60 minutes of prep into something that's about 5 minutes per team member. And it really saves a lot of time. Same thing can also happen the other way around. So this custom GPT is also possible for direct reports to give feedback upwards to their managers. It also works for peer reviews. We rolled that out about 4 months ago. So far, a couple of learnings. The first one is uptake extremely good. So in the first month or so, and we didn't release it publicly at that point, it had 100 uses, which I can sort of like track in the back end. That's pretty cool because that is pretty much every single like team member in the company and then some, suggesting that some people used it twice. The second thing that we found is that it actually leads to oddly enough, a decrease of the inflation of the scores. So we probably all know that managers have a tendency to inflate scores. We know that in like our past performance reviews as well. It didn't solve it, but there's something in kind of spitballing back and forth with a custom GPT like this that makes managers give slightly like feel better about giving kind of like negative feedback, which people are often very uncomfortable with. Another thing that it does at the end, by the way, is that it allows you to, so once you're kind of like good with that feedback, it allows you to do a dry run of that feedback in voice mode. So the custom GPT will switch into voice mode, pretend it's that team member, pretend it's that team member not taking the news very well, and then having a bit of an interaction so the manager can kind of like train in a safe space. That's pretty much everything that I've got to demo. The one thing in terms of what happens next, because it's a continuous process, there's one thing that I find really cool, and that is that managers themselves are starting to experiment with the custom GPT beyond what we have given them. So imagine you are an engineering manager. You have got your engineers like working in Linear or Jira or whatever. And not only do you want help with the custom GPT for like writing up your feedback for you, you also don't even want to have to think about what your direct report did in the last month. Cool thing is, now that you have ChatGPT connectors, which is basically ChatGPT grabbing information from other tools like Linear or HubSpot, what one of our engineering managers did, and let me hope that I'm going to get the right, yep, that's the right screen share, I think. Just double check that. Where's the right prompt? Just gonna go with the entire window, doesn't matter. Whoops. So what he did is a prompt that essentially pulls from, in our case, Linear, so the place where engineers work on tickets, the information. And he then set a schedule in ChatGPT, which you can do in the settings down here. You can kind of see there's a bit of schedules. So that what happens now, every 30 days, this thing, which just pulls all of the relevant information from, I don't know why the X isn't happening. This prompt, which pulls all of the relevant information from Linear, gives him just a report about what's happened. So you can kind of see, I wish this would go away. Oh well, demo gods. You can see here, this is what it spit out. So the the custom GPT essentially gave this engineering manager actual feedback on this one specific person. And he can then pull that into Oilsmith to essentially not have to do the fact finding and not even have to do the write-up of the information itself. The only job that he now has to do as a manager is give that feedback to the other person. Now you might say like, okay, like doesn't that like invalidate the job of manager? I don't think so. I think what this does is it actually highlights, for what I said at the beginning, the number one job that I think a manager has, which is to actually interact with another person in order to like help them motivate based on the information that they've got. And that's what we're doing at the moment. So a couple of learnings, but excited for how it goes.
Awesome, dude. Appreciate you running through the demo. Like, so many great things to pick out there. I particularly enjoyed the coaching element to it. Like, it's something I'm thinking about at the moment. Like, such a great use case for AI because not only can it use your context to spot opportunities, but it's also a place of practice, right? It's a safe space where you can interact and practice that coachability. So I thought that was great. Jason, I know you're more of a GPT man than I am. So any thoughts on the build from what you could see there?
Yeah, no, very, very cool, Thomas. Like from a usability perspective, I imagine like once I start an Oilsmith for Abigail, I then have like my Abigail Oilsmith each month, right? So like I'm able to look back and see progress that, you know, things we talked about on the previous month and how it's going. So I can imagine, is that kind of how you recommend using it? Like you keep Abigail's Oilsmith going?
I recommend using it. It is not how I use it sometimes because you can't currently, like I struggle sort of like finding my conversation sometimes. ChatGPT interface is not like ideal in like pinning conversations and stuff. But yes, right. This thing can take quite a long conversation. So if you essentially have 12 instances of oil check conversations with it, yeah.
I was thinking about that, like after the 6 months or after the 12 months, when you do like the big review, how valuable it would be able to kind of pull from all of it. It's very, very cool.
Fun fact.
If you ever need any tips on how to organize your ChatGPT, I've never seen one prettier than Joe Atkinson's. And he's not even like a GPT guy. So like he's got icons and emojis and color coding and everything.
The secret hack is to put different colors on your logos. And that's honestly all it is.
Fun fact though, we've completely done away with big reviews. So
got it. Okay, very cool.
There's no more 6 monthly reviews. Essentially, this goes a little bit beyond like the demo part, but like the way that like I think of essentially the core product that we as like people leaders provide is essentially a triangle. It's pay, performance, and progression in unison. So if you change your performance, like the way you do performance, it will inevitably have repercussions on how progression is handled and how pay conversations happen. So it follows from that, and this is also what we're doing, is that making a case for a pay rise or a promotion should be actually in the hands of the person themselves rather than their manager, which is de facto how it happens most of the time. You just kind of gotta wait for somebody to like tell you if you get like a raise or not, and you maybe talk with the manager. But doing this gives somebody more agency, more gunpowder, if you will, to make a case for their own progression, because they can raise it anytime once they've collected enough sort of oil checks in their portfolio. Plus there's a whole like documentation, which I've not shown because it's like just too much, around, you know, what makes a good case for progression. So by that like token, this works in reverse as well. This could essentially eliminate pips if you wanted it to, because you've got enough documentation anyway.
No, that's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Awesome. Some people loving the demo in the chat there, Thomas. So we appreciate it. If you've got any questions, fire them in the chat. We're going to move on, but we'll either try to get to them at the end, or Thomas can maybe get back to you directly in the chat. But we're going to talk about prompting, and we'll welcome Glenn to the stage. Glenn, give us a quick intro to you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jason. Great demo, Thomas. I love CustomGPTs. They've got so much value. I'm Glenn. I'm founder, but I'm essentially a talent acquisition guy over 20 years. But now I lead the training and workshop facilitation for Bonsai Labs, which are essentially an AI implementation consultancy. So when you and I started chatting, Joe, I was like, okay, PromptMates, how much have you done on prompting through the shows? And I was just curious to fire a quick question at both you and Jason, even Thomas. How would you describe prompting to one of your team members or somebody that's kind of like, you're just in conversation with them about what's your soundbite, your strap line for prompting, explaining prompting?
I mean,
I'll go first. I mean, so the way that I talk about it is it's the way that you interface with these tools. And I also lean down to the idea that like tools are tools. They're not solutions. These aren't magic wands that are going to solve stuff for it. And you got to give it, it's kind of like we talked about in one of our earlier ones. You have to set the context, set the expectations, and define what you want out of it. And the clearer you are in that regard, the better the return you're going to get.
I would probably be a little cheeky. I would say for me, it's basically learning to talk to a very, very literal genie. Like if you mumble, it'll grant you some weird half wish. If you're too vague, it'll confidently make something up. If you're bossy but clear, it's going to nail it. So tell it what you want, how you want it, what to avoid, and give context if it matters.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. But for me, it's like how to write your Christmas list, like how to ask for what you want from the tool.
Absolutely, and that's it. I mean, I think because a lot of people are on that kind of learning journey in relation to prompting. People still think prompting is just typing, right? But it's actually a switch of mindset to a lot more design thinking, because you're essentially you're trying to instruct the model who it is, what world it's operating in, and what good looks like. So essentially, to your point, you just referenced there, kind of role, context, you're looking at sort of really defining what the output is, whilst actually giving it a very specific task. So in the training that essentially I deliver, what I'm finding is a lot of people come to the training with a heightened sense of confidence around their prompting ability, because ultimately, if they're comparing prompting in a retrieval AI kind of scenario like Google, actually the power of kind of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc., they can almost get more value doing the same kind of thing, the same kind of instructional approach. So there's that kind of cognitive dissonance between their actual capability level and actually, kind of where they are on that maturity scale. So just a quick visual, because I am a visual person, and I like to give people a bit of a visual representation. So hopefully everybody can see that. All good. So when we just start, kind of talking in these sessions, we introduce this kind of prompt maturity scale, essentially. So, where are you on your prompting journey? And just break it down into the real kind of simplistics of beginner, developing, effective, and efficient. And essentially what we're looking to do is really ask that question, or I'm looking to do is ask that question, where are you? And then we kind of, depending on which particular model they're using, in this case it's ChatGPT, we try and look to give them a bit of a sense of leveling and the type of ChatGPT tools that they would be using at certain levels. And I think this opens up a conversation, which I think is always interesting, because suddenly people start having almost like something to categorize themselves with. Now, this is not definitive. I'm not saying it's like the golden rule for ChatGPT, but ultimately what we're trying to do is give people some level of measurement in relation to their prompting ability, and give them a bit of a guide. So almost like trying to instruct their learning journey. So it becomes quite useful and helpful. And then essentially what we look to do is we give them an interactive prompt task, which we're all going to do, right? So this is where the jeopardy comes in, Joe, that we talked about going live. Essentially, this particular prompt arena everybody can access. So I'm going to put the URL into the chat channel for everybody. So one thing I will say is that you probably cannot access this if you're in your workspace. You'll have to kind of go onto your kind of personal browser for this. And essentially what you'll do, and that code, that access code, I'll put that in there as well. What it'll do, it'll take you into the prompt arena. So essentially what you'll see, you'll join the contest. So hopefully at this stage, everybody that's watching and listening has clicked the URL and is going in to join the contest. You can just put the code in there, the invitation code and your nickname, and then you join the session. And what you'll see is a predefined task that you and I, Joe, we spoke about. It's not this one, but there is a task in there for everybody to essentially test their prompting skills against. And what you do, you can compose your particular prompt, submit the prompt, and then essentially it'll evaluate, and what it will give you is structured feedback on the back end. So it's a blended LLM, so there's a combination of LLMs that sit behind the prompt arena. But what we're looking to do is try and give people a sense of where they are, either a starting point, some feedback on their prompt structures in relation to a real world task. So we can create any task, company specific, very bespoke, and we can bake that into the actual test arena. So it starts to join that, because I think prior to the show I saw on your post, Joe, somebody had kind of put in a link to almost like a prompt library, all of the different kind of prompt structures, etc. I thought super useful, but at the same token, you need to take that learning and test it and measure it somewhere, right? And what better way to do that in an actual kind of like scenario, sandbox scenario, where the actual tasks are relevant to your day-to-day job, your team, your function, your business. So I'm kind of hoping that people are now uploading. So if I just stop sharing a second, I think it might be useful, maybe if we just give everybody like, I don't know, a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, and maybe all of us give it a whirl as well, and see what the results are on the back end. But I guess what I'm trying to illustrate here is it's great to get that learning, to really sort of get that baseline understanding, but where and how are you going to measure that capability, and how real world can you make it?
Nice. I've thrown mine in there. It's evaluating at the moment. I've done it in a unique way, so I'm interested to see what score that gives me.
Yeah, cool, man. Is anybody else going to go for it? I'll put my offering in there as well.
The link might not have gone through to YouTube for some reason, so let me throw that in there just in case.
But while that's happening, I mean, essentially, how Thomas and Jason, what are you kind of seeing out there in terms of almost like training and or testing and or ways of measuring prompting capability? Is that something that you're seeing? Is that something you're interested in within your companies? Do you see the value in it? Because I do think it is, kind of precursoring this, I do think it's like one of the core skills going into 2026, right, within the people and talent function.
I'll be a little edgy here. I agree, first of all, that like it is a core ability, just like, maybe for like our parents' generation in like the late 90s, like learning how to use email was a kind of core function, or like core expectation today. I think on a kind of wider sense, this whole world that I'm seeing on LinkedIn and elsewhere about like, oh my God, we got to upskill everybody on AI, et cetera, I think that's a bit of a red herring. Because I think that leads everybody down this path of like, how do I get better at AI, as opposed to what problems do I want to solve and what tools do I have today to solve those with. So I know that goes a little bit like counter to your point. So like I agree with you in that point, but I think generally I'm kind of fed up, to be honest, a little bit with this whole like, is somebody like an AI skeptic or an AI native, and like how do we get better there? Like this technology is in the middle of evolving massively. Like anything you build now is going to be completely out of date in like a year's time.
Totally, man. Oh, sorry, Jason, go, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it is like, we get asked a lot. I get asked a lot, like, how do I get an AI job? How do I get an AI job? And like, my pushback isn't how do you get an AI job? It's more the idea of like, what are the paper cuts? Like, what are the things that you find in your day that AI could make better? Focus on that. Almost like, don't get an AI native job, make your job as AI native as possible. And like, to Thomas's point too, today is the worst it's ever going to be. Like, it's only going to continue to push forward, which is a long way of saying, I think understanding what tool to use and how to interoperate and communicate with it is important. And I think great prompts can do a lot of really powerful things, but I also wouldn't want to stress people out if they don't feel like they're great prompters yet.
But equally, like, I also don't want to lie to people. Sorry, we're going a little bit off base, but like, I also don't want to lie to people who kind of like, oh my God, is my job is at risk, and say like, no, your job is fine. I don't want to be nice in the moment, but unkind in the long term. Like, I want to be, and like, you'll hear this at Juro 24/7, despite it being like a little scary for some people. Like, no, like every single job is going to change, and some jobs are going to like go like out of business. Despite like, how much you love your own job with AI. So like for us, it's much more about how do we help you prepare for a future in which this is going to be the norm, of which I think, learning how to like do extremely good like context engineering, prompting generally as a layman, that is a very good base skill to have in order to kind of get ready for this in advance. That's in our case also what future perspectives, this part I didn't talk about, is about. It's like, imagine your job in 6 months. Where do you think the technology is going to be then? What kind of job that you're doing at the moment do you not think you're going to be doing anymore? What new stuff are you going to be doing? Because that's what I think, Glenn, like prompting also opens up. It opens up a world of things that you weren't able to do before. I know certainly that like as the only person responsible for IT in the company at the moment, and I'm not an engineer, I can get surprisingly far just by using ChatGPT.
Nice. Glenn, just one thing, the evaluation takes a few minutes, so there might be some more trickling in. You're on mute, by the way, my friend. I just muted you while you were clawing at your keyboard there.
Sorry, dude.
You're on mute.
But yeah, absolutely, Thomas. I think prompting on its own is not sufficient. It's a skill that you'll develop in relation to how you then think about proof of value. Because I think a lot of people are trying proof of concepts at the moment. I'm trying to encourage people to think about proof of value, the things that are really valuable that you're building. And actually that can be a kind of short-term sprint, build something very simple, almost on a single atomic level proof of value, and see how that works and what that does for your particular business, your team, your function. So prompting on its own is a starting point. That's my view on that.
Interestingly, I'm looking at the leaderboard here. I see myself and Jason kind of mid to low scores, and I wonder if we've done it in the same way.
Mid is
yeah. Well, one how Jason and I often prompt is to get AI to prompt for us, right? Like we start with the outcome we want, and we ask Gemini or GPT or whatever it may be to build a prompt for the task or for the GPT. So I mean, that's how I did this because I was interested in seeing what score I would get. I don't know if you did the same, Jason.
I did something relatively similar. I was also kind of bummed out I didn't screenshot the rubric first, which I think in a way is quite frankly like setting the context for us, right? Like if you notice, mine got dinged for not having role, and that's because I missed the R of RCOT sort of thing.
Okay, cool. We got a few responses. What can we learn on the back end here, Glenn?
So I think, have you received the kind of feedback piece yet? Have you received that?
I got mine, yeah. I clicked off it though because I wanted to refresh how many people had submitted.
Cool. So let me just bring this up. Might as well do the... So apologies to anybody that is still evaluating. Let's kind of finish the session and view the results. Vlad, well done. So Vlad, Napster, and Joe, you made it into third place. Congrats.
I'll take a bronze.
Take a bronze indeed. I think, so back to your question, what can we learn? I think it's illustrative that if we're using kind of prompting to really engage, as Jason said and Tom says, engage with these new tools and start to think about building, we can't lose sight of the fact that actually prompting as a skill is something you need to continue to develop and iterate on, and you need to find a way to get that kind of feedback measure or measurement in terms of certainly your capability, but equally don't just think of it singularly as prompting. You've got to think of it as kind of prompting that's agnostic across all of the tools, because ultimately you are using different kind of LLMs. You may be locked into a kind of primary LLM within your particular business, so there may be kind of, i.e. Copilot or kind of Gemini, but actually when you start to look at the verticals and the actual kind of skill specialisms that you need for specific functions, you might start to see essentially different toolings requiring different approach, different prompt structures. So I think that the key message really is prompting isn't typing. It's design thinking.
Awesome, love it. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the task. Nice to see a good few submissions there. Hopefully the feedback was useful. Any final thoughts, Jason? Anyone else you want to give on prompting or the session?
No, I'll just say it's lovely watching what everybody's creating. I think today was a cool blend of like HR use case into how you can apply these AI skills across HR talent or just about anything. It was a really fun session, guys.
Awesome. And a couple of people have pinged me actually. Thomas, are we able to share the public GPT for people to play around with?
Yes, happy to.
Awesome. We'll email that out to everyone after, and we will call it there. So thanks so much for joining. Thank you to Thomas, Glenn, and Shirley for joining as our guests. We have one more session before Christmas, 10th of December, and then we're taking a short Christmas break. So we're going to try and go bigger and better for the final session of the year. So sign up to that one, and we will see you